Good morning. My name is Sarah. I serve as the board administrator for the Texas State Board of Social Worker Examiners. We have so I'll start with calling the roll. Chair Brumley,
Present.
Ms. Andrade,
Present.
Ms. Dallapena indicated she could not attend. Mr. Dollinger,
Present.
thank you. Ms. Pryor,
Present.
Ms. Rogers. Ms. Science Davila indicated that she could not attend. Ms. Swartz,
Present.
and Ms. Tatum indicated she could not attend. I just got a message that they can't hear me. So can the board members hear me? And can the attendees hear me? Maybe, I'm sure somebody would have chatted in if they
See
could.
some hands raised, so I take it that means you can hear us.
Okay,
Excellent, thank you.
That person.
okay. Well, thank you very much. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chair Brumley.
All right, good morning. This is,
Sorry, Mr. Wembley, Mr. Dollinger, apologies, I was wrong. Patrick just leaned over and let me know. To be counted as present for a quorum, you do have to be on camera starting now, so. Thank you.
okay,
Now we have a, thank you.
okay, thank y'all. So thank y'all board for showing up for this call meeting of the Texas State Board of Social Work Examiners. We have, we're gonna take the agenda today, we're gonna mix it up a tiny bit. I'm gonna first ask if anyone has public comment on a topic other than what we're here for today, which is the 781-501 rule change. If anyone has public comment for something other than that, we'll go ahead and take that first. If you do, please raise your hand so Sarah can recognize you.
Shauna Therrett, can you unmute? Shauna, can you unmute your microphone? So, okay. Oh, there you go. You have comment? I lowered her hand.
Oh,
Ms. Shauna, do you have comment for us? Okay, we'll try coming back to you.
any other hands, Sarah?
And if anyone else has comment other than about the rule change, would you raise your hand? The raise hand feature is in the bottom navigation bar of your screen. And I do have one phone number, looks like. So, area code 409, do you have public comment? You can use *6 to unmute your phone. I'll take that as none. Ms. Shauna, can you unmute and do you have comment?
We can see that you're unmuted, but we cannot hear you, so you may be having some technical difficulties. You might try logging out of the meeting and logging back in. And if you still have difficulties, you are always welcome to provide us comment online via email.
All right, if there are no others, we're gonna go ahead and move on, and we're gonna take public comment on today's agenda item. But prior to doing that, I'm gonna move and turn over the explanation of what we're doing today to Deputy Director Romig for an explanation of why we're here today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are proposing, staff has brought you this rule change to 781-501, the continuing education rule. We had not gotten it prepared in time for your last regularly scheduled meeting, and so this is why we added this quick meeting to handle this one. I wanted to give everyone some context about where this has come from and what the proposed changes are intended to do. Hopefully that will help set the stage for public comment going forward. The origins of the idea of a continuing education requirement in diverse topics really stems from the Texas State Health Plan put out the 2011 to 2016 plan. And it was recognizing that as our state grows in population and diversity, that there are going to be many different facets of professional competency that need to be addressed, both in the medical community and the mental health community. And at the time, the idea of incorporating this sort of people-focused continuing education was first adopted by the psychology board back a decade ago. And when the other three boards were joined with the psychology board and BHEC was created around 2021, 2022, this rule was adopted into each board's continuing education. Now, from the beginning, the theory behind the continuing education requirement was a recognition by the boards that licensees need to be competent not only in the professional practices and modalities and theories, things like using meditation or using cognitive behavioral therapy or understanding the DSM, understanding depression, but also needing to be competent in the populations that they were serving. A recognition that we are a diverse state and that our life experiences and situations do impact how we receive medical care and how we receive mental health care. Since the adoption of that rule, and particularly over the last year, the wording of the rule has led to a lot of misunderstanding and misinterpretation. And staff has spent multiple times of these listening hours that we've had or these lunch and learns explaining to licensees that the rule does not require education in a particular facet of diversity or particularly education designed to teach one worldview or one political view. Despite our efforts in communicating that, there have been an increase in misunderstandings and an increase in social media posts and other news articles misinterpreting what this rule is designed to do. And so staff has brought this change in an effort to preserve the intention of the rule as it was developed by the board in the first place. Because our understanding is that you as the board very much value and still want there to be an emphasis on continuing competency when providing services to whatever diverse populations licensees are providing services to. And so what you see in front of you is language that is designed to take away what are unfortunately currently politically and culturally sensitive touch words that are getting misconstrued, while really keeping the heart of the requirement, which is to say, as a provider, you need to understand that the people that are coming into you for service may have backgrounds and histories and character traits and community traits that need to inform your care. And that whatever populations you are serving, you need to be competent when serving them. And so that is what this rule is designed to do. Certainly understand there's been a lot of concern, particularly later on in the rule where there's a paragraph that has been deleted that has a listing of particular types of traits. It is not eliminating the ability to take continuing education in any of those traits. It is in fact expanding to say whatever population you are serving, whether that be veterans, whether that be new mothers, whether that be rural Texans who work in agriculture, whatever the population is, you need to be adequately educated in how to provide services to them. So that is our proposal. Certainly we as staff are happy to answer questions. I know y'all's board will want to talk, and I know there's public comment.
Thank you for that, Deputy Director Roaming. So,
Before we go on, a board member has indicated he's having some audio issues. So I think he's on the move to try to get a better.
Sorry, Mr. Dollinger, if there's anything you missed, if you need me to go over something, let me know.
Ron, can you hear us okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just kind of going in and out. I think it might be where I'm at, so I'm trying to find it a better place.
Okay, all right, well, we're gonna go on with public comment at this time. And I want to let everybody know, I think, what do we have, 35 folks in the waiting room, something like that?
86.
86, okay, it jumped, all right. Well, we have about an equal number of that in written public comment, which we have received. The board members also have these comments. I think it was 80 or 81 comments that we received. We have had opportunity to read over those and see those and take those into consideration. What I would ask is if you have public comment that directly mimics what you sent into us, we don't need you to read it to us again. I'm not saying don't make public comment. I'm saying just don't rehash what we already have, so we can move on with the number of folks we have out there. So as we move into public comment, please take into consideration the things that Director Roman presented to us. And at this time, we will open it to public comment. You will have 3 minutes. That's a 5. We have 5 or 3? 3. Yeah, we have 3 minutes. Okay, it changed. All right, so we have 3 minutes of public comment. This timer will be on the screen. Please use the raised hand feature within Zoom to be chosen for public comment. So I'll go ahead and let Sarah run the public comment line.
And if you've dialed in on your phone, not using your iPhone as to attend the Zoom meeting, but just dialed in the phone number so you can get audio, we'll call on you after we've called on everyone who's raised their hand. The raised hand feature is at the bottom navigation bar on the Zoom screen. And so we'll begin. Mr. Francis, NASW, you have comment?
Yes, my name is Will Francis, and I'm the Executive Director of the National Association of Social Workers, Texas and Louisiana chapters, and I appreciate the opportunity to comment today. NASW Texas would very much rather keep the current language, especially as it identifies certain groups. But after reading the rule, after discussions, after exploring the background, we appreciate that ultimately it does broaden the scope of the rule, and that it does still require dedicated hours where social workers develop their competency around working with a variety of groups, health populations, and distinct identities. Continuing education focused on any of the specific populations would still explicitly, that are being explicitly removed, would still fall into this category. And I appreciate Mr. Romig's explanation of that. And so while shifting away from describing certain groups, we feel it does still align with our code of ethics by focusing on professional competency. And it allows social workers to determine what types of continuing education they pursue in order to meet the requirements of the rule. We appreciate that the rule change ultimately still centers social workers guiding their own education and ensuring that client populations are still the focus of the requirement. And I would just like to add that NASW Texas intends to hold a public forum on this. I know in this space, it's really a space for people to give comments and to speak and to share. And we hope that there's a wide variety of comments that both speak for and against, or wherever people feel on the rule. We really encourage people. But we intend on holding a public forum where people can have more of a discussion among each other, to have the opportunity to explore what this means to their practice, to their professional and personal lives. And we'll be sharing information about that public forum in the future. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Will.
Brenda Fiaro, you have public comment, and please identify if you're speaking for yourself or for an organization.
My name is Brenda Fierro. I'm speaking for myself as a social worker.
Thank you.
In 2022, the NASW released a statement renewing our vow to undoing racism in our profession and advocating for our community at large. They stated, as our nation turns more attention to addressing its long history of systemic racism, the National Association of Social Workers acknowledges that our profession has not always lived up to its mission in pursuing social justice for all. We apologize for supporting policies and activities that harm people of color, and we will strengthen our efforts to end racism in social work profession and in society. The proposed language changes to competency training, I feel goes against what we stated we were going to do. Social workers and other mental health professionals have and continue to be complicit in the oppression of people with marginalized identities. We cannot fulfill our ethical and professional obligations to improve the lives of the people we serve without ongoing education on how systems interact to cause harms and trauma that shows up in therapy and in our agencies. This new language would allow professionals to count any training, as most trainings are centered around dominant identities, which also have common traits as worded in the new policy. I will not support the erasure of history nor the ban of words such as cultural diversity, cultural competency, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. I recognize that we must be strategic in our work, and therefore I would propose the addition of language that includes distinct populations that face unique systemic challenges based on those stated identities versus just groups of people that share unique characteristics. I oppose this change. I respectfully request that this get reconsidered. I understand that something needs to happen, but I do not support this change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fiaro. DW, you have comment?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Nicole Willis. I am a licensed social worker, and I also teach at the Texas Southern University. And I'd like to share that I am strongly opposed to this language. I strongly believe that with the political climate, this is having a tremendous influence in the attempt to whitewash our language on diversity. And one thing that I would like to know from the board is, did you all consider the CSWE Educational Policies and Accreditation Standards of 2022 in considering how to revise this language? Because what we teach our students in social work education as a requirement of our accrediting body is that diversity, equity, inclusion are super important and must be infused in everything that we teach our social work students and everything that we assess. And we always discuss the big gap between research and practice, but now we have an even larger gap between practice and social work education. So I would like to concur with the previous speaker in public comment that the board reconsider the language and putting it back to what it was before, because we cannot bend to the political force of trying to whitewash our language.
Thank you, Ms. Willis.
We should pause. It looks like we lost Mr. Dollinger.
Okay, we'll need to take a moment. We've lost a quorum and we can't continue without it.
So we'll just hold at ease for just a moment. Don't lower your hand. Stay in line. We're just waiting. I assume Mr. Dollinger's feed just dropped off and he'll be connecting back to us.
Should I pause the recording? Or leave it running?
Leave it running.
Let's The sheriff wants to take a 5-minute break or something like that.
Let me just wait and see. He had said he was trying to find a better connection, so maybe he's just walking somewhere different.
I'm not leaving. I'm just getting creamer for my coffee.
Okay.
Ms. Rogers has asked me to resend her Zoom link. Can I do that while I'm in the meeting? I do.
Ryan says he's trying to connect now.
Okay.
Sarah, you just go back into the web where you would like log into Zoom to set up a meeting.
Copy that.
Well, you can just go back in there where it has the list of panelists.
Christine was gonna try it. I think she's getting there quicker than I am.
Yeah. Because you can actually edit the meeting while it's going on.
That's crazy.
We appreciate everyone's patience and apologies for the technical issues that are stopping quorum. We believe we have 2 board members actively trying to connect, so it should be fixed. Knock on wood soon.
She just did it.
Well, this will certainly be the most exciting YouTube recording of our meetings.
Ever. Thank you all for hanging in there. We appreciate you being here and being willing to provide public comment.
Right, welcome, Miss Rogers. Thank you, you've saved the day. Excellent, all right.
Good morning. So we again have a quorum and we may resume. Key Sue, thank you for the phonetics. You had your hand raised. Can you unmute and give us your public comment?
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Kisu Safari, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker here in Texas. And I'm here to comment on the proposed amendment. So I think that the removal of the specific categories from continuing education requirements has been characterized as broadening. I think in practice, it would eliminate explicit mention of, and I'm going to list them out: age, disability, ethnicity, gender identity, language, national origin, race, religion, culture, sexual orientation, and social status. I think not listing them permits omission rather than broadening. I think this amendment would signal to every mental health professional in Texas that a client's fundamental identity can be treated as optional, reduced to a simple strike through in regulatory language, as we have seen. So I'd like to share just a few examples that might surprise you, because I think this affects every family in Texas, including your own. So consider a medical student experiencing severe depression, whose condition is dismissed as lacking resilience by a therapist without training, and how cultural expectations of masculinity affect mental health presentation. This is gender identity. Or an elderly client, isolated and experiencing depression, meeting a counselor unprepared to understand how generational and faith traditions influence family caregiving decisions. This represents age and religion. My own clinical experience demonstrates that cultural humility and competency enhances care delivery universally. So while cultural humility education will persist in spaces, I think, where genuine therapeutic work occurs, this amendment would change and cause compromises to the standard of care for all Texas residents. So I am opposed to this amendment, and I don't think it enhances protection. I think it diminishes care, and I would urge all of you to preserve these essential standards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Zadbrozny, you have public comment?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I have further questions rather than a comment. I concur. I'm sorry. I'm a social worker in Austin, Texas, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker supervisor, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself. And I concur with all of the previous comments. And my question really has to do with what prompted this. And is this like kind of a knee-jerk reaction to all of the DEI stuff that's going on across the country. We're acting out of fear that we might be targeted, what those fears, if those fears are realistic, what the end consequences might be. I think that it's important to, you're kind of saying that this came from licensees, and that's kind of difficult to believe. So I'm kind of just questioning what prompted this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Lily Grant, you have comment?
How do I?
Oh, there's some
Hi,
feedback.
my name is Lily Grant. I'm delivering this testimony from my classroom. I'm speaking on behalf of my class of social work students who are the future of this profession and concerning this change. As a future social worker, it is our responsibility to uphold the NSAW Code of Ethics and adapt to the ever-changing social climate in the broader society. In our understanding that the intention of this revision is to increase diversity and competency, which will not be achieved by excluding identities directly mentioned. We are a field notorious for letting incompetence and ill-trained professionals slip through the cracks, creating a vague, indirect language will only further allow people to enter this field, continue to carry out the cycle of hurt. It is with our best interests of the communities we serve to oppose the change and urge you to reconsider.
Thank you, Lily.
Thank you, Ms. Grant.
And thank you to your class.
Blake Smith, you have comment?
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with y'all today. My name is Blake Smith. I'm a licensed master social worker representing myself. And I just have a brief comment to say that I agree with all of the previous comments and respectfully oppose this change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. Endley, Shubra Endley, you have comment?
Yes, thank you. My name is Shubra Enley, and I am representing myself. I've been a clinical social worker here in Texas for 25 years. And more than comment, I do question if the concern for changing the language was because there was a lot of ambiguity on what qualifies under this professional development or CE requirement. By taking away some of the specific groups, just seems to kind of create more ambiguity. And if you look at the current language, it does say that those are just a few of the groups or special populations. And so I kind of question if this might just make the problem worse if there really is a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Endley.
Thank you.
Denise Garcia, you have comment?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Denise Garcia. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in state of Texas. I just wanted to echo all of the comments that oppose the change in this language. I agree that it would exclude the marginalized identities that we work with and would also create more ambiguity. And so, yeah, I just wanted to thank you for the chance to speak.
Thank you.
I see no more raised hands for those who are attending with video in Zoom. If you wish to make comment, the raised hand feature is at the lower navigation bar on your screen. Oh, Sharon, you have comment?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a licensed social worker here in the state of Texas for the last, God knows long, about 35 years. And I have to agree with everyone that I've been listening to. The language is going to scare people off, and it's also not going to make us prepared to service anybody that's new and different than who we normally serve. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Sharon. Yadira Nunez, you have comment?
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes.
Yes, I am a licensed master social worker working in the city of Austin. I do recognize Austin is a metropolitan city that not that as in my profession, my clients are in several diversities. So I just want to point out the importance of social work ethics. And I'm going to specify when in regards to competence and the responsibilities to the broader society. We practice within the areas of competence and develop the enhance their professional expertise. We continually strive to increase our professional knowledge and skills to apply to them in practice. We should aspire to contribute and the knowledge base of the profession. And under the ethical responsibilities to the broader society, 6.1, social welfare, and 6.4, social and political action. We, as social workers, we should act to expand choice and opportunity for all people with special regard for vulnerable, disadvantaged, oppressed, and exploited people and groups. We promote the conditions that encourage respect for cultural and social diversity within the U.S. and globally. Social workers should promote policies and practices that demonstrate respect for difference, support the expansion of cultural knowledge and resources, advocate for the programs and institutions that demonstrate cultural competence, and promote policies that safeguard the rights and confirm equity and social justice for all people. We should act to prevent and eliminate domination of exploitation, discrimination against any person, group, or class in the basis of race, ethnicity, national origin, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, age, marital status, political belief, religion, immigrant status, or mental and physical disability. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Munoz. Pam Grace, you have public comment?
Hi, I'm Pam
Hi.
Grace. I'm a licensed clinical social work supervisor here in Texas. And there is one choice to clear up confusion by eliminating the list of possibilities. There is another choice to add. And I'm looking at the federal government's Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and their statement on discrimination. And I'm just, these are, and it lists lots of different areas, race, color, religion, sex, including gender identity, sexual orientation and pregnancy, national origin, age, 40 or older, disability or genetic information. And I'm wondering about adding all of those rather than taking them away from a perspective of these are areas that the federal government has determined that people are areas that people are discriminated against, and that affects our clients. If the federal government's saying these are people who are marginalized, and so that would be my thought, rather than to remove, add in in the same way the federal government defines. Not that we're, well, yeah, okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grace. Seeing no other raised hands, I'm gonna move on to those that have called in by phone. Oh, now I've got a couple more raised hands. Sorry, phone callers, I'll get to you in a second. Stephanie Barnard.
I just
Go
want to,
ahead.
oh, sorry. I just want to say that I agree with the others that have already spoken. I oppose the change, and I think it's really hard not to wonder if the reason that the change is happening or is being proposed now is because of the current DEI, changes across the nation. It seems like we're getting swept up in that, and I don't. I'm sorry. I'm a licensed master social worker speaking for myself, but it's hard to think that the social workers of Texas are allowing ourselves to get swept up in that. We are here to advocate and serve everyone, but with special attention to these specific groups. And I just don't want to allow the current dynamic to affect that. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. Ted Conway, you have public comment?
Yes, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I am a licensed teacher in the state. And I would just like to say that I oppose this change and that I agree with the majority of the comments that this will negatively impact the care that individuals receive. But more importantly, or just as importantly, I think there needs to be some reflection on how this will affect students in our schools. And if we really care about these children as much as we do in our schools, that decisions like this need to be thought about with more care. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. Shauna Wildheart, you have comment?
Yes, yes, my name is Shanna Wildheart, and I am a licensed clinical social worker with the state of Texas. And so reading through this, I guess I'm just having difficulty understanding people's concerns, because it says that this is for our continuing education. And it is opening it up to common attributes, traits, defining characteristics, where cultural diversity and competency isn't so much defined in the lower section, Part D, and it opens it up to a lot more areas, such as those with mental health issues, such as those who live in poverty, such as those who live in housing. I think we work with so many different groups, and yes, getting education pieces for those groups that we work with is important. Because as we're talking through this, I'm sitting here thinking about, okay, as I go through my CEUs that I've obtained so far and that I've obtained in the past, working with older adults, working with people with disabilities, those types of things. There's so many other populations out there, and this kind of opens it up to those other groups, to those other populations. And I don't think this means that we get to discriminate against anybody, because that's not who we are as social workers. I think this is just defining our education piece and opening it up to more pieces. We could clog up the system with a whole bunch of different groups, I guess, but there will always be more groups out there, because inside every culture you've got subcultures. So I kind of like the way it's worded, and the fact that it's a little bit more ambiguous means that it opens it up to groups that maybe are still emerging and developing, that are marginalized in our societies. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wildheart.
Let me add one thing real quick. If you've got a public comment that you're wanting to make and you're appearing by Zoom, please go ahead and raise your hand so that we don't have this constant trickle of we get to the last person and then somebody else raises their hand. So we have some idea about who all is wanting to give public comment. We kind of know where the end is.
Allison M., you have public comment?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. My name's Allison Mulder, and I'm a licensed clinical social work supervisor here in Texas. And I have a two-part comment, one to just reflect on what the previous person said. I think the amount of hours that we are required to do for CEUs does open up the opportunity for us to explore CEUs with populations that aren't defined in the language as it currently is. So I don't think that changing the language to the new suggestion would limit us in any way. We still have tons of opportunity to learn about other populations with the other CEUs hours. And it is our responsibility as social workers to learn about the populations with whom we're working. So that's just written into the code of ethics as it is. Beyond that, as a supervisor, one of my jobs is to gatekeep in the profession and make sure that people who do have bias against certain populations are examining those biases and working through those prior to becoming fully licensed. And I think the board has a responsibility to do that as well. And so the requirement as it's written allows more protection for these really vulnerable populations who are increasingly more vulnerable in the current political climate that we're living in. And I'm speaking for myself. I forgot that part. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other hand raised, so area code 214, if you have public comment, you can use *6 to unmute. Caller with area code 214. One more time, caller with area code 214. Okay. Thank you. Caller with area code 409. If you have a comment, please use *6 to unmute. So caller with area code 409. Last call for caller with area code 419. Do you have public comment? And we've lost a quorum.
Ms. Rogers is still here.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Peyton English, you have public comment?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Peyton English. I am a licensed clinical social worker, speaking on behalf of myself. I also agree with the majority of commenters. I oppose the proposed change. If anything, maybe adding opportunity, taking away, would just cause more ambiguity, and also goes against our shared values of social justice. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. English. Seeing no other hands raised. Again, if you have public comment, the raised hand feature is in the lower navigation bar. No other hands raised. So I believe that ends public comment.
All right, thank you, Sarah, and thank you all of those who took time out of your day to interact with us in this process. So as public comment has ended, we are going to move now to agenda item number 3, rulemaking, which may include discussion and referral of potential rule changes to the Rules Committee, as well as discussion of the status of the rule proposals sent to the Executive Council. A, proposal of the rules, discussion and possible action to recommend proposal of new rules, amendments, or repeal the rule in Title 22 of the Texas Administrative Code, specifically item 1, 781-501, requirements for continuing education. So board members, you have before you the information from the Rules Committee, which met 10, 12, 14 days ago. I don't remember exactly. But that meeting, the Rules Committee met, and the Rules Committee supported the change and sent the change up to the board for consideration today. So, board members, does anyone have any questions, discussion, concerns? All right.
Mr. Chair, if
Yes.
it's appropriate, we don't normally respond to public comment, but might I offer a few thoughts just to help address some of the points that were raised?
Okay, we'll do that. And Ms. Pryor, as soon as he's done, I'll come back to you.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No.
Oh,
He may actually answer my questions.
okay, thank you.
That's what I was trying to, hopefully, I know there were some questions raised, particularly, I know there were several questions raised about why is this being brought forward? Where is this coming from? What is it trying to fix? And essentially, the problem that has occurred over the last year or so is a misunderstanding of what the rule does or does not do. And in fact, I would argue that it has been reflected in the public comments we have received today and in writing about the very rule change. Folks don't seem to be able to agree. Some folks want this rule amended because they say it's DEI and that's bad. Some people say this rule should not be amended because it's not DEI. Some people say it should not be amended because it is DEI and it should be kept. And so the nature of the rule has always been to allow an open-ended broad selection of population characteristics for you to get CE training in. And the list that is being eliminated has always been including but not limited to, as one of the commenters mentioned. And unfortunately, the idea of adding more examples to the list won't change the fact that it's not a limited list, and it won't necessarily clear up the confusion that people seem to be having, seeing this list and thinking it is a limited list when it's not. And so really the goal is to use language that is not subject to misunderstanding and not subject to the political wins and whims that really have nothing to do with what this rule was meant to do. I also want to address several folks, I think, have misunderstood that what they envision this continuing education to be is to require education in specifically marginalized and disadvantaged groups. And that is a laudable goal, but has never been what this rule is or does, because it's not limited to marginalized populations. It's not, when you put in the list age, the natural inclination is to think what you mean is elderly, but that's not in the rule at all. It could be any age population, any age group. And so the clarification of this rule is not in any way trying to take away or diminish the need to help marginalized groups. And that is still a laudable goal and one that is core to social work, but was never part of this rule in the beginning.
Yeah, and along with what Director Roman is saying here, I mean, as social workers, we teach, we have discussion language in our education processes about the client's right to self-determination, where the client makes that choice about the help they're going to receive. And I can see this a little bit flipping over and saying now the social workers also are accepting their right to self-determination. And you need, as a social worker, to be determined to serve the population that you're working with. I live in a rural area and Northeast Texas, and in that area, there are many populations that I hear social workers talking about in other parts of the state. They're not represented in my area. So it would not make sense for me to be prescribed a defined topic that doesn't meet the clients that I'm serving. But it also means that if I wanted to move and work with that population, I have the option to gain that knowledge through the way the rule is being written now. I'm not prescribed, and it's not descriptive in a way that forces me, but it's also written in an open-ended way that says, hey, you take responsibility for your client base and you understand who you're working with to provide them better services. So that's my thoughts on it. Anybody else? Ms. Pryor, did it answer your question?
Well, I just have a maybe a comment. If you enact a rule and the majority of the population doesn't understand the rule, and these are the people who will be expected to adhere to it, then it seems like you're going to have chaos. And I was listening and taking notes on every single comment. And after reading the change, to me, it sounds like they're all totally confused as what the rule means. And if they don't understand it, how are they going to comply with it, whether you change it or whether you don't change it? That's the thing that's messing with my head right now.
Well, and one of the ways that the board, that the council can look at that is, I'm sure we could have one of those brown bag luncheon things where we can be very descriptive. And those who feel like they're confused about it would have opportunity to log into that and hear. So I think it will be an educational process over the next few months.
I will also say, just for the board's edification, but also all of those attendees, what we are asking the board to do today is to propose this rule. And so it will still go before the council and then be proposed in the Texas Register, with a month of opportunity for all manner of folks to comment on on the language itself. I think that a lot of the comments today are really about the conceptual issue of whether this change is good or not. We would certainly welcome comments if if I didn't write good language and you have ideas about better phrasing to make it more clear, those are always welcome.
And I think to Ms. Pryor's question or point, I think the rule written as is, there's a clear indication that there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding about the current state of the rule. So leaving it as doesn't, there would still be confusion.
Yeah.
Status quo isn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't,
I'm sorry. I just think that it's exacerbated by all of the changes to DEI or against DEI that have been going around. People are naturally edgy, and you can explain things all you want, but if their ears are tuned in a certain direction, it's going to be hard to reach them. And these rules are affecting the very people who called in today. And for everyone who called in, I would submit there's probably an equal amount who just didn't call in, but because I only heard one comment, unless I'm mistaken, that maybe understood it, but the vast majority, they don't understand. So I think that much more is going to be needed to make sure that they understand. And it's not necessarily this board's fault that their understanding is off. It's just the climate that we're in right now. It's lending itself to people jumping to the negative.
Her camera just goes out sometimes.
Okay. Thank you for that, Ms. Pryor.
we lost our quorum for a
Yeah,
second.
we're gonna hold just a second. Ms. Rogers' camera is coming back. There she is. Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Ms. Pryor. Any other board members? Katie, Jennifer, Ms. Rogers?
Just want to note, going off of the confusion, I didn't hear anybody mention it today, but in the public written comments we received, there were also a few people who understood the new language to mean that it would be the same attributes or traits as themselves as the social worker, which is how they took the language. So they were their concern was that people would only be getting additional education on populations that had the same traits as themselves.
That is a good comment and something we can look at as it goes through the process. Certainly, it is meant to be whatever populations people are choosing to serve. And I should note, there was one commenter that said, well, that just means any training will count because it's all about a certain population. And that's not correct. What we would be expecting people to show in their certificates to us is a training about a population, not about a diagnosis or a treatment method, right? That's the distinction here, is that a training focused on depression is not depressed people are not a distinct population in this term. Because depression is the diagnosis that you would be working on from a substantive standpoint. Population in this context is the group that you are serving. And so it would have to be a characteristic of people. We had for example, we had someone in a different profession write in and talk about, well, could I do a training about dogs and all the ways people use dogs in therapy and are dog lovers? Could that be a population group? And dogs are not people. We love them, they're great, but that is not a population characteristic. So we would expect people to honor the intent of the rule of focusing on a population group.
Ms. Rogers, Ms. Andrade, either of y'all have any input before we call the question? Okay. So at this time, having come from the Rule Committee to support the change, I would entertain a motion. All right, as chair, I will make the motion to, let me read it here, make sure I get it right. To propose the rule change of 781-501 requirements for continuing education. So I will need a second.
Second.
Have a second from Ms. Andrade. So all those in favor of the rule change, please signify by saying aye, raising your right hand. Okay, we have 5. So the motion does pass. Rule change will be proposed, and it will be now listed for the council.
Correct.
On February 18th.
February 18th.
Okay. So those of you that are in the public, you do have another opportunity at that time to present your public comment. So
Mr. Chair, I'd
Go
like to
ahead.
fill in on it. Just so the public understands, like Mr. Romig had mentioned a moment ago, if the council elects to propose this rule, it'll be published in the Texas Register. But I also want you to understand that you'll have an opportunity to comment at the BHEC meeting where it is being considered for proposal. Then if it is proposed, you will have an opportunity to comment through the formal commenting period, as Mr. Romig talked about. Then when it is brought back to the social work board for consideration with the comments, you would again have an opportunity to comment. And if the rule is then recommended for adoption by the council and it goes back up to the council, you would again have yet another opportunity for comment. So this is not your only shot to comment. There are going to be plenty of other opportunities to discuss it. So I don't want anybody thinking this was your one and only chance. I would also just kind of let everybody, I don't know if you'd mentioned, but I know the MFT board and the psychology board have also recommended this change. So this is not an outlier.
and LPC's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes. So this is not an outlier. And then lastly, the one thing I wanted to say is this is really kind of a kudos to all you folks that took the time out to comment and send in written comments. I've been doing this 13 years, and anytime a a touchy subject or maybe a controversial change comes up, rarely do we get comments that show the level of tact and civility that we heard today. That did not go without being noticed, and I just want to put that on the record. From me to all of you, I genuinely appreciate that. That is something that is sorely lacking in society nowadays. The only thing I can say is thank you, well done. If I could copy this and kind of tell other people this is how you do it, I would, because that's how you do it. That's how you do public comment. So thank you is all. I just want to say thank you, whatever it's worth to you.
All right, thank you, Director Spinks. And I'll echo that. I've been serving on this board since about 2016, 2017. And it is refreshing. And I do support every one of you that call in and say, hey, this is dumb. Don't do this. This is good. You should do this. That's what makes this process work. I appreciate you coming to us with your comments. I know we had an issue several years ago, and my wife got all upset because I was getting hate mail at my house, postcards about things that were changing. And she's like, what do you do about that? I said, it's everybody's ability to get their opinion across. They're just not maybe doing it in the most civil way that they could. So I do appreciate this manner, and thank y'all. And board, thank y'all for showing up today and taking time out of your day to listen to the public so that they are aware that we're not a bunch of one and done folks. We have opportunity for y'all to be a part of this process, and I do appreciate you. So with that.
If I may take a moment
Go
to
ahead.
show the website so people know how they can,
Yeah, Sarah's she's gonna share her screen and put up, I guess you're gonna show how to make comment.
so this is from the agency's homepage. And in the right-hand side, you can go down to email updates where you can subscribe to get information directly to your email inbox about the lunch webinars or about rule changes or when proposed rules are published. I'm clicking back on the Texas Behavioral Health Executive Council to get back to the homepage. And the second quick link from the top, proposed rule changes, outlines for you all the details of the process of the rulemaking process. Goes to the board, then the council, then gets published in the Texas Register, etc. And down here, under proposed rule changes open for public comment, if these changes are approved by the council and published in the Texas Register, you'll see it show up here, and you'll be able to click on this link to submit written comment. You can provide written comment to us at any time by using our Contact Us webpage, and I just clicked on that quick link. Just scroll down a bit to get that web form for our email, and select the subject that you, select the program that you want. And then add your comment there, and you can even add a documents. If you've got a study or something you want us to be aware of, you can use the file upload feature that's part of that Contact Us. So I just wanted to make you aware all the different ways that you can submit your opinion and your comments to us, and we do appreciate them. Thank you.
All right, anything else, staff folks? All right, board members, I will entertain a motion to adjourn today's meeting. Well, I will make that motion to adjourn and entertain a second.
I second.
All right, all right, we have that. All those in favor, you can raise your right hand or leave the meeting. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much.